Hello learners, today I am going to start with my first lecture, that is human resource management, and today I will be discussing, in fact in this entire week I will be discussing about the definition, about the scope, about the functions and evolution of human resource management. Now in this first day of lecture I would be talking about what is HRM and the core functions of it, the scope of it, evolution, as I said earlier. Now, what is HRM? At its core, when we often talk about what is human resource management, at its core, it is about managing people strategically, and in fact, not just as a resource, but they are considered as an asset. Now, think of in this way: like if we say that machines it depreciate, but people appreciate in value when developed completely and properly. So, investment in people is important when we talk about human resource management, because they are just not only there to perform administrative tasks, but they are considered in today's modern human resources, they are considered as an asset. So HRM covers everything, when we start from the process of recruitment, selection, getting the right talent at the right time, at the right place, training them, keeping them motivated, and then eventually retiring them. So this becomes more of a, it is defined as a strategic and a coherent approach to the management of an organization's most valued asset, that is the people who are working there individually as well as collectively, in order to contribute to the achievement of its objectives. So human resource management is particularly responsible for maintaining good, healthy relations amongst each other in the organization so that they can function smoothly, and it is also concerned with the development of individuals and achieving the integration of goals and objectives of the individual as well as of the organization. So there has to be a sync, there has to be objectives of the individual, the goals of the individual, they need to be aligned with the larger organizational goals and objectives. So it sometimes we need, or rather we should ask or you should ask yourself that how would your company succeed? And a company cannot succeed without having good people, and the word good itself, it talks about that how efficient, how productive, how motivated the individuals are. So human resource management is particularly focuses on maximizing employees performance and as well as productivity, how well they can adapt to the environment, to the organization, how well they understand the organization in achieving the goals and objectives. Secondly, as I said, that alignment of the goals, individual goals, with the organization goals becomes imperative. Thirdly, it treats human capital as the most valuable asset, because they are just not human beings. They cannot be considered, or they cannot be equated as machines, but they are considered to be an important asset, because without the formation, without this group, without this collectivity of individuals, you cannot think of human of any organization to grow and progress. And then lastly, it covers the entire life cycle of an employee, because the moment, unless and until the employee, there are untoward incidents, or the employee feels like leaving the organization, but that too they would have some valid reasons for leaving the organizations, but it covers an individual's employability as well as his entire life cycle, that is from hire to retire. Okay, so it helps you when we talk about that. Why are we concerned with HRM? Helps you get the result. That is, there are different managerial techniques. When you talk about get results through others, because management is about how you manage people to get the work done, which is for the benefit of the larger organization. So the different managerial techniques help managers to direct the performance of the employees in a certain desirable direction so that they can achieve the organizational objectives, and through the efforts of others working in organization, managers also, they are able to get things done that require human resource, effective human resource management. Then it helps you to avoid any personal common mistakes. Qualified HR managers, they utilize their organizational resources in such a way that it would be helpful to avoid common personal mistakes, like hiring the wrong person for the job, or experiencing high turnover, or finding employees not doing their best, having your company taken to court because of your discriminatory actions, having a company cited, under federal occupational safety laws for unsafe practices, allowing a lack of training to undermine departmental effectiveness, as well as committing any kind of unfair labor practices. Then it also helps you to gain competitive advantage. Now, when we talk about gaining competitive advantage, that is among all the resources possessed by the organizations, it is only the manpower or the human resources that create the real difference. Okay, and because organizations can have the same technology, they can possess same type of financial resources, same sort of raw material can be used to produce the goods and services, but the organizational source can really, it can really be suffering. And in fact, then there are certain factors which would be contributing to the growing importance of human resource management, that sometimes we try to discuss that why do we need human resource management. There are certain factors which contribute to the need or to the significance of human resource management. First, it is accommodation to workers' needs. Workers are demanding that organizations need to accommodate their personal needs, by instituting such programs which would be flexible, like in terms of their work schedules, parental leave, child care and elder care assistance, and job sharing. In fact, the human resource department, it plays a very significant role, a central role in establishing and implementing certain policies which has been designed to reduce the friction between organizational demands as well as the family responsibilities today. So we talk about work-life balance today, and human resource management also looks into this factor, into this part, that how I can bring about work-life balance between an individual's organizational needs, expectation, as well as his own personal and family responsibilities. Secondly, there is an increased complexity of the manager's job. Management now has become an increasingly complex and demanding jobs for many reasons, including there would be foreign competition, technological advancement, expanding scientific information, and of course rapid technological changes. Therefore, organizations they frequently ask human resource managers for assistance in making strategic business decisions and also in matching the distinctive competencies of the firm's human resources to the mission of the organization. So there are certain executive needs assistance from the human resource department in matters of recruitment, performance evaluation, compensation, as well as discipline. Then there is legislations and litigation. The enactment, every state they have certain laws and regulations, rules which are statutory, which are non-statutory, and every individual needs to comply. The organization needs to comply, the employers, the employees, they need to comply to these laws and regulations and legislations. So the enactment of state laws has contributed enormously to the proliferation and importance of human resource functions. The record keeping and reporting requirements of the laws are so extensive that to comply with them, many human resource department must work countless hours and often must hire additional staff. So there are certain 4 areas that have been influenced mostly by legislation, including equal employment, compensation, safety, as well as labor. Then there are other aspect also, like when we talk about consistencies and expertise. Now there are when we say that that what are the consistency, then human resource management, they need to be consistent in its way, in its performance, in its functioning, and the employers and the employees, they need to manage the complexities of the organization in such a manner that it just not only demand consistencies but also certain expert opinion that how it can bring about certain changes, how they can function effectively and smoothly without creating or at least minimizing any kind of hurdles or obstacles which the employers or the employees may feel. Then there is the cost of human resources are also there, that the availability of human resources, even then when you talk about the HR audit, that what is the worth of an individual in organization and how much he is or she is contributing in the overall performance and work of the organization. Now there are certain HR philosophies which are also describes the overarching values and certain guiding principles which have been adopted in managing people. In fact, human resource management, it operates through human resource systems that brings in a very coherent and strategic manner. So specifically human resource management, it is a process where you talk about the acquisition of people, you talk about the development of people, you talk about the motivation of people, and of course binding the people, retaining the people in an organization. Now the philosophies of, in fact, the HR, if you talk about the human resource management, there is a certain system which surrounds this organization and they all work in a very coherent manner. These are the HR philosophies, strategies, policies, processes, practice and programs. When we talk about HR philosophies, it is about describing the overarching values and the guiding principles which is being adopted by the organization in managing people. Every organization, they have certain mission statement, they have certain vision statement, they have certain goals, they have rules, regulations. So this comprises of the philosophy, the values through which every employee, even the employer, it's just not about the employees, but the employer as well as the employees, they abide by these guiding principles, they follow these values, these rules, regulations which has been adopted by the management, by its people, so that the functioning can be very smoothly done. Then second, HR strategies, which defines the direction in which HRM intends to go. How we have to initiate human resource management, in which direction. It has been often said, HRM is more, it's like it's proactive, right? You need to think of strategies, you need to be more alert, you need to have that vision before any eventualities, before any incident. So it's just not, you have to be proactive when you are in the HRM, because you have to think of the strategies, you have to think of the techniques, how you can enhance the functioning of the employees, how you can increase the productivity of the employees, how the organization can expand and grow. So strategies particularly gives the direction in which the HRM has to function, has to go, has to move forward. Then there are certain policies of HR now which are considered as a guidelines, that how these philosophies or how these values and principles and the strategies which has been framed by the HR manager should be applied and implemented in specific areas of HRM. So policies are certain guidelines in a way, and completely giving a clarity in defining the values, what principles has to be followed, what are the strategies has to be taken, and it should be how it should be applied as well as implemented in these specific areas of HRM, like performance appraisal, like recruitment, selection, training and development, and so on and so forth. Then HR processes, which consist of formal procedures and methods used to put HR strategic plans and policies into effect. So processes consist of, or rather it particularly focuses on the formal procedures and methods where you can talk about the HR strategic plans which would be put into effect. Then HR practices comprising the informal approaches used in managing people. There are certain informal ways. It is just not about the formal, formal interaction or formal communication, but there are certain other ways, informal approaches, informal way, helping your colleagues or assisting someone in the teamwork, where both formal and informal approaches are used in managing people. And then there is HR programs, which enables the HR strategies, policies and practices which to be implemented according to the plan. Then there are certain few definitions of HRM, but before going into the definitions of HRM, I would like to further highlight the growing significance or importance of HRM by saying that the success of any organization increasingly depends on its people. Embodied know-how, the knowledge, skill, abilities, all embedded in an organization's members. Every employee skills, knowledge, ability, attitude, aptitude, it's all embedded in its employees, and this knowledge base is the foundation of an organization's core competencies, like integrated knowledge sets within an organization that distinguish it from its competitors and deliver value to customers. And that's why HRM plays a very significant role in creating organizations and helping them survive. So, our world is also an organizational world, right? We are surrounded by many organizations and we participate in them as members, employees, customers and clients. So, most of our life is spent in organization, and they supply the goods and services, on which we depend to live. So, organizations on the other hand depend on the people, and without people they would disappear. This is why HRM is considered to be the most important factor. Now, of course, if you look into the proper definitions, it's been given by Edwin B. Flipper, and it is defined as a planning, organizing, directing and controlling of the procurement, development, compensation, integration, maintenance and separation of human resources to the end that individual, organization and societal objectives are accomplished. Another definition has been given by Michael J. Jusius, and it is considered to be that field of management which has to do with planning, organizing and controlling the functions of procuring, developing, maintaining and utilizing a labor force such as that of the objectives for which the company is established effectively. Objectives of all levels of personnel are served to the highest possible degree, and objectives of society are duly considered and served. So there are objectives which has to be aligned with the organizations or with the companies, objectives at all levels of individual, personal as well as societal objectives. So according to Ivan Civic and Gluick, HRM is considered with the most effective uses of people to achieve organization as well as individual goals, and it is the way of managing people at work so that they give their best to the organization. Now, so human resource management, they can be defined as the most important part of the management which is concerned with all kind of decisions, strategies, factors, operations, principles, activities and method which is related to the management of people as employees in any type of the organizations. All dimensions related to the people in the employment relationships and all dynamics that flow from it. In an organization, the relationship is just not one-to-one. Okay, they are a relationship which is quite dynamic and which is, the relationship which is established between the employer and the employee, the relationship which is established between amongst the colleagues, team members, superiors, subordinates, so there are various dimensions of the relationships, and it's one of the most dynamic way of functioning. And then there is adding value to the delivery of goods and services and to the quality of work life for employees, hereby trying to bring about, assisting them, helping them to ensure continuous organizational success in transformative environment. Now, the nature of human resource management. If we talk about the human resource management, it has been highlighted in its following feature. First, it is an inherent part of management. When we talk about inherent part of management, it means that human resource management is inherent in the process of management, and this function is performed by all the managers throughout the organizations rather than by the personal department only. So if a manager is set to get the best of its people, he must undertake the basic responsibility of selecting people who will work under him. Secondly, it has a pervasive function. Now, human resource management also is a pervasive function of management. Here, it means that it is performed by all managers at various levels in the organization, and it is just not the responsibility that a manager can leave completely to someone else. However, he may secure advice and help in managing people from experts who have special competence in personal management and industrial relations. Then it is basic to all functional areas. Human resource management permeates all the functional area of management, such as production management, financial management, as well as marketing management. And that is, every manager from top to bottom working in any department has to perform the personal functions. Then it is more people centered. We can say that human resource management is people centered and is relevant in all types of organizations. It is considered with all categories of personnel from top to the bottom of the organization. There is a broad classification of personnel in industrial enterprise, which may be blue collar workers, those working in machines and engaged in loading and unloading, then white collar workers, that is the clerical employees, then managerial and non-managerial personnel, professionals such as chartered accountant, and so on. Then it is also considered, it is when we say that it is continuous process, because when you talk about, as I said earlier, that human resource management is more of a proactive function, and it is a continuous process because you are continuously looking into the progress in the growth of the organization, expansion of the organization, because the employees or the people who are associated with the organization, they are constantly on a competitive edge with the other companies. There is training, there is development, round the clock functioning of the organization. So there is a continuous process of human resource management. And lastly, it is based on human relations. Human resource management, as I said earlier, that they are considered to be an asset. It is a human capital, and relationships are very important in an organization setup. Unless because through human resource management, you try to minimize the friction, any conflicting situations, or any kind of untoward incidents in the organization. So the work has to be done based on the professional relationships which has been established, which has to be more cordial, which has to be amiable and formal as well as informal. So it is based on healthy relationships amongst each and every employee who are part of that organization, whether they are your seniors, your subordinates, your colleagues, management, laborers. So that relationship needs to be cordial, that relationship needs to be healthy in the organization. Then there are certain aims of HRM. Okay, yes, I was talking about the nature of HRM, in which I had discussed few points, that is inherent part of the organization, pervasive function, basic to all function areas. It is more people centered, personal activities or function, right? So when you talk about personal activities or a function, human resource management, it involves several functions concerned with the management of people at work. It includes manpower planning, employment, placement, training, appraisal, and compensation of employees. So for the performance of these activities efficiently, a separate department known as a personal department is created in most of the organizations. And when we talk about the continuous process, it is just not one shot function. As I mentioned earlier, it must be performed continuously if the organization's objectives has already been achieved smoothly. And as I said, that it is based on human relations, that it is concerned with the motivation of human resources in the organization, and the human beings can be dealt with like physical factors of production. So every person has different needs, exceptions, expectations, perceptions. So the managers, they should give due attention to these factors, and they require human relations skills to deal with the people at work. So human relations skills are also required in training, performance appraisal, transfer and promotion of subordinates. Now we'll discuss about the various aims of HRM. As Ulrich and Lake in 1990 had remarked that HRM systems can be used as a source of organizational capabilities, which allows firms to learn and capitalize on new opportunities. Now, first point in this is the organizational effectiveness. When we talk about organizational effectiveness, it means that the distinctive human resource practices shape the core competencies that determines how the firms will compete. Extensive research has shown that such practices can make a significant impact on firms' performance. So HRM strategies, it aims to support programs for improving organizational effectiveness by developing policies in such areas as knowledge management, talent management, and generally creating a great place to work. So this is the big idea as described by Purcell et al., which consists of a clear vision and a set of integrated values. So more specifically, HR strategies can be concerned with the development of continuous improvement and customer relation policies. Then there is a human capital management. Now, the human capital of an organization consists of the people who work there and on whom the success of the business depends. So human capital has been defined by Bontis that it represents the human factor in the organization. So the combined intelligence, skills and expertise that give the organization its distinctive character. So the human elements of the organization, are those that are capable of learning, changing, innovating and providing the creative thrust, which if properly motivated can ensure the long-term survival of the organization. So human capital can be regarded as the prime asset of an organization, and business need to invest in that asset to ensure the survival and growth. So HRM aims to ensure that the organization obtains and retain the skilled, committed and well motivated workforce it needs. So this means taking necessary steps to assess and satisfy future people needs and to enhance and develop the inherent capacities of people, their contributions, potential and employability by providing them learning and continuous development opportunities. So it involves the operations of rigorous recruitment and selection procedures, performance, contingent incentive, compensation systems and management development and training activities which is linked to the needs of the business. So it also means it engaging in talent management. So the process of acquiring and nurturing talent wherever it is and wherever it is needed by using a number of interdependent HRM policies and practices in the fields of resourcing, learning and development, performance management and succession planning. Then knowledge management. Now knowledge management is any process of or practice of creating, acquiring, capturing, sharing and using knowledge wherever it resides to enhance learning and performance in the organization. So HRM aims to support the development of firm specific knowledge and skills that are the result of organizational learning processes. Then reward management, again it aims to enhance the motivation, job engagement and commitment by introducing policies and processes that ensure that people are valued and rewarded for what they do and achieve and for the levels of skill and competency they reach. Employee relations, next one, the aim is to create a climate in which productive and harmonious relationships can be maintained through partnerships between management and employees and the trade unions. Then meeting diverse needs. Another aim of HRM is to develop and implement policies that balance and adapt to the needs of its stakeholders and provide for the management of a diverse workforce, taking into account individual and group differences in employment, personal needs, work style and aspirations, and the provision of equal opportunities for all. Then bridging the gap between the last aim is to bridge the gap between the rhetoric and reality. There was a research which has been conducted by Grattan et al. And they found that there were generally a wide gap between the sort of rhetoric expressed above and reality. So management may start with good intentions to do some or all of these things, but the realization of them, theory and use, is often very difficult. So this arises because of the contextual and process problem, other business priorities, short-termism, limited support from line managers, and inadequate infrastructure of supporting processes, lack of resources, resistance to change, and lack of trust. So an overarching aim of HRM is to bridge this gap by making every attempt to ensure that aspirations are related into translated into sustained and effective action. And to do this, members of the HR functions have to remember that it is relatively easy to come up with new and innovatory policies and practice. So the challenge is to get them to work, and they must appreciate in the phrased used by Pearson et al. That it is the frontline managers who brings HR policies to life and act accordingly. Then there are certain policy goals of HRM, which is again important, that is managing people as assets, and they are fundamental to the competitive advantage of the organization. Secondly, aligning HRM policies with business policies and corporate strategy. Thirdly, developing a close fit of HR policies, procedures and systems with one another. Then creating a flatter and more flexible organization capable of responding more quickly to demanding changes, and encouraging team working and cooperation across internal organizational boundaries. Then creating a strong customer first philosophy throughout the organization. Empowering employees to manage their own self-development and learning. Then developing reward strategies which has been designed to support a performance-driven culture. Improving employee involvement through better internal communication, building greater employee commitment to the organization, increasing line management responsibility for HR policies, and developing the facilitating role of managers as enablers. So these were the certain policy goals of HRM. Now, managing HRM or managing human resources in the emerging scenario. In the present scenario, the HR managers, they perform a variety of responsibilities. Earlier, they were just confined to administrative functions like managing manpower requirements and maintaining roles for the organization. Now it is more strategic as per the needs and demands of the industry and because of the changing times. So first, it is about managing people. In view of the industry dynamics and in the current times, there is a greater demand for knowledge workers. Resumes abound, yet companies still fervently search for the people who can make a difference to the business. Often talented professionals, enjoy high bargaining power due to the knowledge and skills in the hand. So the attitude is different for those who are taking up responsibility at a lesser age and experience. These factors have resulted in the clear shift in approach to individualized career management from organization career commitment. Then motivating the workforce as the competition is growing rapidly in the global IT market. A technological edge is supported by their talent pool has become a crucial factor for survival in the market. So naturally, as a result, every organization gives top priority to technology advancements program, and HR managers are now performing the role of motivators for their knowledge workers to adopt new changes. Then competency development. Human capital is the real asset for any organization, and this makes the HR role important in recruiting, managing and retaining the best. So the HR department has a clear role in this process and determines the success of any organization. An urgent priority for most of the organization is to have an innovation and competent HR pool, sound in HR management practices with strong business knowledge. Then recruitment and training. Recruitment has become again a major function from an imperative subsystem in HR, particularly in the IT industry. So HR managers, they play a vital role in creating asset for the organization in the form of equality, manpower. Attracting new talent also is a top priority for software companies, but less so for smaller companies. Another challenge for HR manager is to put systems in place to make the people a perfect fit for the job, and skill redundancy is fast in the IT industry, we all know that. So to overcome this problem, organizations give the utmost priority to training and skill enhancement program on a continuous basis. So many IT companies are providing technical training to the employees on a quarterly basis. So these trainings are quite useful also in the terms of providing security to the employees. The trust factor. Low levels of trust inhibit tacit knowledge sharing in the knowledge based industry. So it becomes industry. So it is essential that the IT industries or any other industries takes more initiative to improve the security levels of the employees. Then work-life balance factor. Another dimension to the challenge faced by many industries and organizations is the growing pace of talent acquisition. So these aspects create with it the challenge of a smoother assimilation and the cultural binding of the newcomers in the organization fold. So the pressure of delivering the best of quality services is a reduced time frame calls for ensuring that employees maintain a work-life balance. Then attrition, retention of the talent pool. One of the toughest challenge for the HR managers in any organization is to deal with the prevalent high attrition level. So though there is an adequate supply of qualified staff at entry level, there are huge gaps in the middle and senior level management in any industries or in organizations. Further, the salary growth plan for each employee also might sometimes not be well defined. So this situation has resulted in increased levels of poaching and attrition between organizations. So the industry average attrition rate is 30 to 35% and could range also up to 60% in some situations and circumstances. Then bridging the demand supply gap. HR managers have to bridge the gap between the demand and supply for professionals. They have to maintain consistency in performance and have to keep the motivation levels of employees high despite the monotonous nature of work. So the same also ends to recruiting training cost. Inconsistent performance directly affects revenues. Dwindling motivation levels lead to a loss of interest in the job and a higher number of errands. So if you talk about in India, about the current challenges in the industry and organization and the retention initiatives in their companies, more executives were surveyed expressed that the major challenges for the HR managers today are recruiting the right people and retaining them for longer times. And the next most important HR concern listed were meeting the demand supply requirements in the industry, expectations, management of the resources and other stakeholders, efficiency in processes and HR policies. These are certain challenges which is now a lot of industries they are facing. So when asked to rank the best motivating factors, the most frequently expressed priority was the nature of the job and job satisfaction level. So the next most important aspect was salary and monetary benefits, good peer group, positive, surrounding, motivating and interactive environment, and the company process. So, interestingly, it was been found that working for the right boss and company was very appealing to the authors. So this is all about my today's lecture. I'll stop here. Thank you. I'll continue with the second day lecture. Thank you.